All right, welcome back to Mind and Magic. I'm currently in the middle of a thunderstorm caused by the remnants of Hurricane Beryl. So if there's some rumbling in the background, that's what it is. We haven't had a mailbag in a while, so I figured I would respond to some questions and comments. Becky Hoff Hines 6245, commenting on the video Are Ouija Boards Dangerous? Says, come on people, LOL, I played with one when I was little. Never had any problems. I think a lot of it is in people's mind. Well, a lot of what is known as spiritual activity is coming from people's minds. It's the mind that's the 0 point for the spirit to attach itself to, or rather the subconscious mind. When me and my friends played with one, going on 30 years ago now, and I left and walked down to the corner convenience store while they stayed back in the apartment and played around with the Ouija board. And then I came back in the spirit on the Ouija board, told them who I was talking to down at the convenience store. When I asked for the name of the person I spoke with, did the spirit follow me down by floating behind me, keeping a watchful eye on me, while simultaneously control the Ouija board that they were messing with? No, it just accessed the answer from my mind. The one power that the spirits have is accessing your mind and influencing your mind. Now, you played with one when you were little and nothing happened that you're aware of, which is good. You got lucky. But there have been countless people who have had a lot of things happen because of them indulging the Ouija board, as I went over in that video. So it's best just not to mess with them at all. Ouija boards fall under the category of FAFO. So it's best just to stay away from them, and I appreciate the comment. Golden Pendulum 88 asks, when studying and going through the curriculum of the Neophyte grade in the Golden Dawn system, and reading the work of Liam Thomas Christopher on his initiation process, is it best to keep from reading chapters beyond that of the Neophyte before finishing the 6 months minimum requirement and so on when one reaches the preceding grades? Reading more is fine. Practicing it before you get to there is not. And that goes with any other magical book as well. It's fine to read things and see what else you're interested in, but you're supposed to put all the other magical work aside until you complete the course. You know, I get asked a similar question as it pertains to my work and my courses so often that I have put it as one of the facts on my website. Number 6, that Liam Thomas Christopher's book, Kabbalah, Magick, and the Great Work of Self-Transformation, has said not to perform any other magic while working through its curriculum. Does this include your programs? Yes, but that doesn't mean that you can't watch, listen, and learn from them in the meantime. So it's fine to read, just not to perform, and don't bank on 6 months. That is a minimum set for those who are extremely talented, in my opinion. I believe on average it would take 10 to 12 months. And if you're wondering how long it took me, it took 10 months in each grade. Don't be in a rush. Be honest with yourself, because only you will know if you are ready to move on. If you don't feel ready after 6 months, it's because you're not. And that doesn't reflect poorly on anyone. It's just that the course takes longer to really get the benefit of the curriculum than initially expected. And I appreciate the question. Thank you. Etika Livingston, 1714, says, celebrating. Already sent Frater an email out of excitement and to thank him. Had some horrible neighbors who really been going in on me. No clue why, but I have a theory. Burnt 6 candles on them, and as soon as the ritual was over, stepped outside to see the police hauling the neighbor guy away. Best movie ever. Now it's after 2 a.m. and I am excited to sleep. He sure ain't lying when he said that these planets don't F around. Says, not every ritual I do gets results, but this one sure did instantly. Yeah, sometimes you get immediate results, and sometimes you don't. That said, a lot of the times I'm doing magic when it comes to like neighbors or the neighborhood, they're pretty fast. I've gotten so many people to move around here, it's not even funny. But it kind of is. But I always do so with the intention that they're going to get something better than they had. Because once again, I believe in the win-win situation. Just because I find them to not be very compatible as a neighbor doesn't mean that they're bad people. It's just that I need more peace and quiet to record, to study, to do ritual. And some neighbors end up being more ornery and noisy than what is acceptable to me. They shouldn't be punished just because I don't like it. So any magic that I would use to move a neighbor, it's done with the intention on getting them something better than what they started with, to improve their situation, to give them more space so they can be louder without being as disruptive. I always want to leave people better than what I found them if possible. Having them arrested, even magically, as a result of a ritual that you've done, only tends to make them worse when they get out, because now they're even more upset. So my advice is, if you want to really get rid of the neighbors and get them off your back, do magic to find them a place that's better for them. And it needs to be better, not just for the win-win, as I just talked about, but also to give them the incentive to move. They're not going to want to move into a place that's worse. No, they're going to have a good deal in front of them for them to want to go through the trouble of packing up and going for it. And yeah, I get it. They're not nice. They've always been jerks. Not everybody's going to get along. But many times the reason people are like that is because they don't have a good home situation. And perhaps if we can help make their home situation a little better, then they would be less so. And that's how we help make the world a better place, is by helping improve people's circumstances, even the ones we don't like very much. They could go on and do their thing as long as it's not around me. And I appreciate the comment. Thanks. Off topic, but I wanted to come here and mention my almost orange ball encounter. I kept coming across your YouTube short with the sigil and kept telling myself you need to check it out, etc., etc. I get distracted easily, but it has been on my mind. Well, when it's on your mind, it won't manifest, so you gotta get it out of your mind for it to manifest. Anyways, today my neighbors taped a sign on my fence gate saying, "If you've seen an orange ball, can you throw it back over the fence?" Our dogs miss it, thank you. Unfortunately, I haven't seen it, but I now know of it. Yeah, that's an almost manifestation. Yeah, they taped a sign on your fence that's letting you know that it's around there somewhere. But the reason you haven't seen it is because it's been on your mind. The way sigils manifest is to get your mind off of it. Once it's gotten into the subconscious, you have to keep it there. You can't just hand it off to your conscious mind again, where you're thinking about it, because then the subconscious isn't working on it. And I do appreciate the comment. This one's on the My Biggest Scare in Magic video. Casilda writes, "That reminds me of an experience I had. I was doing a ritual outside. When I started, the temperature plummeted about 10 degrees. Halfway through, it started snowing. The second I finished, the snow stopped. It hadn't snowed anywhere else." Yeah, I love things like that. Just strange little coincidences that let you know that you're having an effect. Those are always the best, and thanks for sharing. Flandernify says, "Here's my biggest scare. I did a ceremony to banish coworkers. I ended up losing my job." Well, that happens when you don't set the parameters for the ceremony that you're doing. You have to bind down the action you don't want to happen. And you do that by saying, "I need this to happen without this happening," and include all of that in your intention statement. It's so very important to define the purpose of the ritual that you're doing, because the less that you define, the more leeway you give the subconscious and the divine to decide these things for you and how to go about completing the operation that you have set forth. And magic tends to take the path of least resistance. So if you don't define the ritual as, "I want to get rid of my coworkers without losing my job," what is the path of least resistance? Well, it's for you to lose your job, because then it gets rid of all the coworkers at once. So you can't just do magic for the things that you want. You also have to do magic for the things that you don't want simultaneously. And thanks for the comment. I'm sorry about your job. We'll do a few more. Alchemistic Goldmine 4164 says, this is on the Orange Ball Onslaught video, by the way. "Did this years ago. I have to tell this story. I've been waiting to tell this. I did exactly as Frater suggested. I was walking down the street, saw and picked up an orange pool ball in the street. How does that happen? My mind was blown. An orange pool table ball in the street. Amazing. Yeah, isn't that something? That's why you can only prove magic to yourself. Nobody else can prove it to you, because you have to have the odd thing happen that makes you go, hey, wait a minute. How the hell does that even happen? And then you remember, oh, I did a ritual to see the very same thing that I'm seeing. Or I charged a sigil. Or I burned a candle. Whatever form of magic it may be. And then after a few successes, you start to think, well, maybe I am living in a matrix. And I now have the cheat codes to be able to put in requests for things that I want specifically. It's been said before that your waking life is the real dream, and that magic is a means of being able to steer that dream in the direction you want it to go. Something to think about. And I appreciate you sharing your experience. Thank you. Hayden Williams 2777 says, I probably saw 6 to 7 orange balls myself before they finally stopped. They only stopped once I took your advice and acknowledged the manifestation and thanked the universe for it. Yeah. For the very reasons I mentioned in that video, the universe is going to keep providing you with something, because if you don't acknowledge it, it thinks you haven't gotten it yet. Or it thinks you disapproved of what it brought you, so it wants to try it in a slightly different form. Yeah, one needs to acknowledge to the divine that it has carried out your instruction as per your intentions, so that it can stop bringing it to you. The only reason you wouldn't want the manifestation to stop is if you cast for something important, such as money, love, sex, or something that you wouldn't mind more of in your life. But just for these little test runs, the things that you don't care about, such as an orange ball, yeah, you're going to want to turn that off by acknowledging it. I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you. All right, so this is on the NAP Ritual Recordings Power video. Okay, in all seriousness, help me out here because I need to work this out before listening. In your opinion, what are some pragmatic benefits of having power over others? I'm asking because I take this action very seriously. With great power comes great responsibility, and enlightened responsibility is a theme I'm currently exploring. Thank you. Well, it depends on what your aim is. What is it that you're trying to accomplish that requires influencing others? Perhaps you're going for an interview to get hired for a job, and you want to influence the employer to hire you. Perhaps you have a court case and you want to influence the judge or jury. There are all kinds of benefits if you have need of it. And that's the real question of it. Do you have need of it? Now, when it comes to the NAP system, the New Avatar Power by Jeff Gray Cobb, I think some of the rituals would have been better off being called something else. For example, this one is named Power for power over others, but it's really about influence because you're influencing their mind. I suppose they're somewhat the same, but influence is a nicer way of putting it. Now, it's something I used to do quite a bit for clients when I used to take on clients. In fact, it was one of the more common things that I would do for clients. They would always be trying to influence someone for a variety of reasons. But for myself personally, I don't really have need of this because there's really nothing that I need or want from anyone, not to the extent of needing to influence them. However, it is included in the book, and so I am including it in the recordings. If it were a ritual that I had personally written, I would have done things a bit differently. But this is how it is in the book, and so it's going to be included. And I'm sure when we get to the punishing enemies portion of the NAP ritual recordings, I'm sure to get a lot of comments on that as well, even though I don't have any particular need of them. But they are being included because they are part of the NAP ritual system, and I don't want to leave things out to make it incomplete. These recordings were made for those who need them or want to try them out, and if someone doesn't have a need for a particular ritual or even takes issue with it, then they don't have to listen to it. We all should be using some discretion. There are going to be people who just don't have any need whatsoever for the power ritual, and that's perfectly fine. I'm more than okay with that. And if we go back to the very first videos on my YouTube channel, where I said that there's not a single person on this earth that I agree with 100% on everything, well, that applies to their magical works as well. Often I'll be reading a magical book and they have some pretty good spells for money, they have some pretty good spells for protection, and then they have some baneful magic spells. And, well, I'm not down with that, so I won't do those. But I'm not going to make that choice for you. I could tell you what I think of it, but ultimately it's up to each person. Now, when I started doing these nap ritual recordings, I did so because I had some really great success with their healing ritual and the money ritual and a couple others. I had forgotten about some of the others that I had no use for or am personally opposed to. But as I want the collection to be complete for everyone, I am including them. Viewer discretion advised. And thanks for the question, my friend. This one's on the People with Problems or Problems video. Very curious what your advice was to get the wife back. This was in reference to some advice I gave my friend who I was the best man at his wedding. And then later, when him and his wife were having problems, he came to me asking me for advice, wanting to know how to get her back. And I told him, and he didn't follow it, and of course, she left him. Now, I have told this story before in other videos where I did say what the advice was, and that was to act like it was the best thing ever, like you didn't care, actually more than like you didn't care, like it was a good thing, and take it as an opportunity to go out, have fun by yourself, and have the time of your life, or at least make it look like you are. Now, the earlier you do this, the better. It's not going to have the same effect if you wait 2 years after she's left you, because she won't care as much at that time. But if you do it soon after, it can have a profound psychological effect, all the nuances of which would take quite a bit of time to go over, so I'm not going to get too in-depth with it in this mailbag. But the short of it is, if you chase, she'll run. And I warned him not to pursue her, but he did. Instead, you just say, okay, I'm sorry it didn't work out. Take care now. Bye-bye. And I know a lot of people are going to say that's terrible advice, but if you really want her back, that really is your best shot. I've been around a long time, and I've figured out how people work during that time. All right, we got time for one more. The Wandering Soul 9740 says, just around 20 minutes after watching this video, a thunderstorm started out of nowhere. I heard raining outside until a loud thunder broke the silence and startled me, interrupting a meditation for healing past trauma that I was doing. This is the second Saturn synchronicity I got today, but this one was crazy. And that's a great synchronicity to get. As I said to someone earlier, I love it. I love those synchronicities. Synchronicities during an operation really get me pumped up, because to me, it's just confirmation that I'm having an effect. Now, some people elect to stop at that point, but I always press on, because I always take it as a great sign that what I'm doing is going to work, instead of, oh, I must have done something bad. No, it's going down exactly as it should. And I appreciate you sharing that experience. Thank you. And I thank everyone who left a comment, whether it made the mailbag or not. I appreciate you all. Thank you very much. Visit mindandmagic.com for programs, courses, and more. Social media links will be on the screen momentarily, and I will see you next time. Take care.